Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. Today I am here to introduce somebody that literally has more energy, more fun, more excitement in her bones than me. I'm so excited to introduce you to DJ Blatner. DJ, how are
Oh
you?
my gosh. I don't think more than you, but I did bring a little party whistle here, because I am so excited. I'm so excited. You really do have such positive magnetic energy. So it is a pleasure to be on your show.
So I met you at America's Beauty Show a few years ago, and you're just the life of the party. And everywhere that you go you are bright and you are fun, and people are drawn to you, which I think is so interesting. I've loved getting to see the way that you work a crowd, the way that you are like, yeah, I'm not in this industry every single day, but I'm in this industry. The way that you really fit is so incredible. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what your experience has been being around hairstylists and beauty professionals.
Oh my gosh. You know what's so interesting? I'm starting to tear up a little bit. I'm starting to tear up in all seriousness. And because it was such a lucky thing. It was so lucky that I got asked to do work with the whole beauty industry. I'll tell you, I was kind of resisting. I was like, well, are these really my people? I don't know. Will I do this? I went to one event and I have never been surrounded by more authenticity, more passion, and truly, 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 I think more love. And so I come alive in groups that give me permission to be myself. And that is what I feel when I am around beauty professionals is I'm like, oh my gosh, these are people who I feel like they are so authentic. They are so passionate. They are so full of love. I am safe to be me. And I love no group more. I got to tell you, I really feel that in my bones.
You fit, like you really do, like your personality, your like fashion, your everything, like you really do fit. And I haven't actually discussed this at all on the show before, but that really is something that I find too. And you said it. I think you just identified something about what I love so much about the beauty industry. But yeah, as somebody that hasn't always been like, this is me, and I'm going to be like, I can definitely chameleon myself into like whatever group I'm in, right? Like if I need to be buttoned up professional, I can be that. If I need, like, we all have those sides of us. But yeah, seeing other people be like, this is who I am, really does make you be like, oh yeah, and this is me, which is so cool because they don't care. No one's judging you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it really is the magic. Like I've said this in professional interviews before is I do, TV interviews and I do a lot in public eye, and the times I do the best are when I am really me. And so
Yeah.
it's that is the magic. And so I really do feel like the majority of the beauty professionals I have been around have tapped into their magic.
Definitely. Yeah, which is such a special space. So let's talk about what you do on the regular, because what's so weird is like the way that our worlds collide. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, she hosts and she does all this, but like you do so much more than that. And I'm so excited for everybody to like follow you and see your Instagram and your socials and everything, because you're doing 1 million things. And I'm so excited to talk about that. I mean, you've been on the Today Show. I mean, you're a really big deal in the hosting world. So tell me about that.
Thanks this is such a complimentary loving show. Again, I should not be surprised, right? This is your industry. Like you guys are all fabulous. Okay, listen, I got into nutrition. So my core is a registered dietitian nutritionist. That's my core. I did that because I was pursuing feeling good. I am obsessed with feeling good. I do not like to be miserable. So soon as people were trying to pick majors and stuff, people said, do for a career what you do in your spare time. And I thought, well, what do I do in my spare time? It's like I hang out at a health food store. I make vegan recipes for my drunk roommates in college. I read health magazines. And so the closest career was this registered dietitian nutritionist. And so I really sought after very similar, where you say I match with with your group, like I do feel like beauty professionals are the same, is that it's a very passion driven. I don't do this career anything but first leading with passion, right? So I got into nutrition, and then I never really knew that this career would have me writing books or would have me on a reality show, winning a reality show. I never knew I would go on Good Morning America and Today's Show. I never knew that I would be the head dietitian for the Chicago Cubs baseball team. I never knew any of these things existed. I really just my theory of life basically is get up, do the work in front of you with enthusiasm, and stay open to the opportunities that the universe unfolds to you. And that's really all these things that I've done. And you mentioned the hosting. When I did a reality show based on nutrition, and when I got back home to Chicago, there was a TV station that said, "Hey, we would like you to host a show." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, really? What nutrition topic?" And they're like, "It's not nutrition at all. This is a show about shopping, entertainment, and events." And I was like, "Whoa!" Like that's where I really knew that I was like in this. Nutrition was my first passion, and then public speaking and media and hosting was also a passion.
Yeah, and I love that everything flows really well together though with what you're doing. Like you have this personality, so you get to be that. You have so much information, like you said, like the books, and you still have your nutrition stuff. I was messaging you the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, this recipe looks so good. It's all like revolves around happiness, enthusiasm, like you said, like all of those things. It all flows really well together. So I think that like the really important message for people is that you don't have to be in this box of only being able to do one thing also. And I think that's something that you and I really connect on, is that we can have our jobs, or we can have our things that we think are, our everyday or 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it, but you're allowed to branch off. Like if you have more skills, like you have so many things that you bring to the table, of just being you, which I love, and your personality comes through in everything you're doing. And that's really at the end of the day, like that's what you have. Like you have this personality and this love, and it's genuine. So people obviously are drawn to that, but you don't have to be just one lane. And even in the beauty industry, which is more of our audience right now, like you can do different things, and allowing yourself to do that, I think, fills your cup a little bit more. Like I would say that, and I mean, I just am saying this because I feel like I know you enough to be like, you seem very happy with your life. And maybe that is because you get to have this outlet here and this outlet here and this outlet here, instead of just being like, I'm just doing this. Do you think that that's true?
Oh, I have so much to say. You have so many wise words there. The first thing that I think is pretty critical for me is these things I call joy breadcrumbs. So it's really, if something is interesting to me, it seems meaningful, it seems fun, it seems like it could be a little joyful, I'm going to go try it. So it's like, that's like even jump rope. I'm very big into jump rope right now. And so it just was a little glimmer of, I think that seems fun. I'm going to go try it. And if I'm open to these joy breadcrumbs and pick one up, it's showing me a path. It's showing me a path. Is there any world where I thought me jump roping on my Instagram account would lead to jobs? No, I just did it because it was a joy breadcrumb that I picked up. However, it's showing me a path where, in fact, I have gotten recently a couple of jobs because I jump rope. And it's like these joy breadcrumbs are a big deal. However, the other thing I will say is I actually got this way, really focused on joy and feeling good, because I know the opposite, because I was potentially the most miserable person I've ever met. I was so miserable. I was all about outcomes. I was all about trying to be perfect, trying to get as many books and magazines and TV interviews, and just trying to succeed and trying to get things and trying to do it perfectly. And I looked up one day and I said, I have all the things that you're supposed to have to be happy, and I'm not. So in 2012, I actually hired a joy coach. I mean, she wasn't a joy coach, but I said, "Hey, I'm hiring you. You're a coach, and I want more joy in my job." I went into this business to have a passionate career, and I've somehow figured out a way to take something I love and hate it. How can I do that? I can do it, and I can do it in pretty much everything. I have a trampoline in my office. Somehow I can take fun trampolining and I can take it to a level of extreme, of like perfection, of like challenge, of competition. I can start hating it. And so
Mhm.
anyway, I have really learned a skill set to stop making myself miserable.
Mhm.
And I ended up calling it Joy GPS, your road to, your guide to, like GPS in your car, your guide to feeling better. And so I use the principle GPS, which stands for gratitude, play, and self care, as an active skill set that I practice to try and be grateful and
Mhm.
playful and enjoy my body in this world, because it's not the default. I got to tell you that it's just, I don't know people who are just default so happy go lucky and giggling all
Mhm.
day. Like, it's a hard world. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And you can take things that are great, like a career you love and trampolining and all these things, and make them miserable. So you
Yeah.
really have to be actively pursuing not to do that. you know?
Yeah. I love that you brought that up because I think that people like that are like you, like anybody that only knows you for like a short amount of time, or even if they got like at the show to spend a little bit of time with you, they're probably like, oh, she's just like the happiest. Like, I think they just assume that you, like you said, you wake up that way. And it's not, it is a choice. Now, obviously, are there situations and circumstances where it's going to be hard? And yes, there are going to be moments where you're just not going to be the happiest. But I love your idea of being like, it's a choice. Like, we're going to say today's going to be a good day and I'm going to be happy here in this moment. Like, I just absolutely love that. And I love your tools. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today is you've really created tools and tips and tricks, and you've got like this tool belt of ways to find joy and to be happy. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about sharing some of those things with somebody that might be listening that is, again, our audience is mostly beauty school students. So we're going to, or like beauty professionals. So we're going to talk, to that world. But I want to talk about joy and finding joy and what we can do to find joy in our lives. So let's start by talking about your book and where people can find this to like all of this information that we're about to go into. Because I want to make sure that they know that this isn't just like us talking about it and you thought about it 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I do. Question to you. I mean, you
Oh,
are
yeah.
so joyful. You are so
Yeah.
positive. You are that way that you would think,
Mhm.
oh, you know what? Nothing really bugs her. Everything rolls off of her. Do you work at it? Like, I mean, I actively work at this. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
absolutely. Yes, for sure. But I think okay, here's something that I wonder if you'll relate to too is like
Okay.
I'm probably I don't want to say meanest. I'll probably like I don't even know how to say this because I don't want to be mean. I'm my most grumpy, let's say that. Like when I'm not this, I'm the most grumpy to the people closest to me. So I think when people meet me, I'm really excited to meet new people. That is something that
Same.
brings me
Same.
joy.
Same.
So I'm gonna be the happiest bubbly to the people I just meet because that's what makes me happy. So I think that I come across that way. I mean, I genuinely am. I mean, I think of my job where I'm at a lot of the time and the students that I'm with and instructors, and it is a very small percentage of time that I am not smiling, because that's the thing that makes me happy. But I do know that there's times that the people like closest to me, see a different side. I 100% work at it. I don't want to be sad. And that's like a perfectionism thing for sure, because I think we're like, well, I'm sad right now, or I'm upset, or I just woke up in a bad mood. I have to fix it because that's not perfect. That's not what I'm supposed to be. Does that make sense? Like, does it feel like
It's
that's kind of how you
interesting.
feel
It's
too?
interesting. I definitely, I am, there was this term toxic positivity that came out, I don't know,
Yes.
maybe 5 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, toxic, you could be too happy. Like, what is happening? But it's like, I get what the term sort of means is like, you have to feel the feels. So like, I feel the feels, but then I assess it and say,
Mhm.
okay, would I like to sit in this? Like, do I want to sit here and be grumpy? Sometimes I say, yeah, I want to sit here and be grumpy for a bit, and, or I say, you know what? No, I'm not really loving this feeling right now. So what can I do to proactively change it, shift
Mm-hmm.
it, and not be fake about it? Like the key, and I feel like you are very authentic. Like you are authentically happy, like to see people authentically, everything I've ever interacted with you, authenticity. But I feel like the scary thing would be is people try and fake this. It's
Right.
like it's a skill set that you work on, not to fake it until you make it. It's a skill set you
Mm-hmm.
work on that you really do feel grateful and play, and that your outer, physical health really impacts your mental health. Like that's where my nutrition background and this real obsession with feeling good sort of combine each other. Is like, like I was saying, and like we were talking about, the career that people choose of beauty is like a passion driven one, but you can actually somehow figure out a way to not like this. You know what I mean? You can
Right.
somehow figure out a way to not like this. So how do you not do that? So
Yes.
how do you not do that? And
Yeah.
it really is like gratitude is a big practice of mine. I have an
Yes.
app that I do every night. It's the way I found, like, paper and pencil wasn't working for me. Just thinking about grateful stuff wasn't working for me. But like I found an app that I really like, and I plug in, and all of a sudden my mind starts going. I'm training it like a muscle to be
Mm-hmm.
more grateful for things. So, even like I was having a bad day on Saturday, things weren't going my way. And I was like, things aren't going my way. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that and this was not me trying. It just, and actually came to me. I was like, oh, but I'm grateful that I have water in a car that I could go fix this situation. I was
Right.
like, oh, isn't that interesting? Like I've been practicing it, not to practice it. I've been practicing it to be naturally good at it when times are tough,
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm like, wow, it's really paying off. And then changing my perfectionism to more playfulness is like, I like
Mm-hmm.
to be prepared for anything that I'm doing. Of course, you want to be prepared. You want to have your schooling, you want to do your practice, you want to do all those things. And once you have that, is like not to be stuck in perfectionism, but then actually play in your craft. So that was what I was missing in my work, is that I was like, I forgot how to play with it. I was just trying to be perfect with it.
Yeah.
And so like playfulness, and then the self-care, that is where the roots of everything for me are, is like, if you do not physically care for yourself, love yourself, really care for yourself, there's no way you can have good energy. Good
Yeah.
energy comes from a good energy physical body first. I call it the core four. So the core four is sleep. Do you sleep? Like that's obviously a human being gets energy by sleeping. Like that's where we recharge and rejuvenate. Everything happens in sleep. It's not a lazy time. People are like, oh, this is like where I'm relaxing. No, your body isn't relaxing in sleep. It's repairing and rejuvenating and doing everything that it needs to do during your sleep. You have to do it. So sleep is part of the core four. Then move. Energy is about movement. So it doesn't have to be exercise or fitness classes, but it has to be something where you're moving every day, because that gets the stagnant, stale, yuck energy out of you. Like you have to keep it moving. And so it's like definitely movement is there. Protein is actually part of it too, because you can't have good energy without steady blood sugar levels, and having protein at meals, don't skip meals. Having protein at meals is a great way to keep blood sugar steady, which is your energy. And then the final thing is I call it poop, poop, where you have to have enough fiber and water in your life so that you're not like constipated and feeling crabby. Like you have to get fruits and vegetables that are colorful and alive and vibrant so that you have colorful, alive, and vibrant energy. And so
Yeah.
like I'm really big on those core four things to do for your physical well-being. And it trickles, believe me, you can't feel amazing in your physical body without it accidentally going into your whole vibe, your whole energy, your mentality, how you show up in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are four really good points. And I think that, like, again, things that we probably should have learned young, but now we're figuring it out. Like, that should be a part of school. We should all know this stuff. Like, these are not like insane concepts, and it's stuff that like has been told to us a lot. Like, yes, we need sleep, but oh, if I get 3 nights here, I'll just make sure I get extra or crash, or I'll nap or whatever. And that's not healthy. I think it really is prioritizing yourself first and being able to give. And so in this industry specifically, like we're giving so much. And I don't know if you've seen this, you probably hate this actually now. And I can't believe I haven't talked to you about this before. But have you heard the stories of like the hairdresser diet or being like the memes of being like me taking one bite in between a client? Like, it is so unhealthy. The way that people are like stack, 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 and I'm just going to drink an Alani or a Celsius and I haven't eaten all day. I can't tell you how many times I'll talk to hairdressers, or even estheticians. Estheticians, I feel like do like as a whole, if we're going to like generalize, if we're as a whole, like do a little bit better because they're, I think, a little more health focused anyways, because they're, aromatherapy and the like all of that stuff. It just kind of fits in that world a little bit more. And what you eat affects your skin, and so it's like really studied maybe more as a part of the program. But there is this thing about skipping, like not eating all day, getting one bite in between a client, and it is the worst thing I think that you can do. I'm so guilty of this at times also, like, so it's not just like pointing a finger, but it is like this joke or this thing that I've even heard people that have been in the industry for a long time be like, yep, get used to it, you're not going to get a lunch. And I'm like, no, we've got to make time to fuel ourselves. Like that has to be a top priority. So talk a little bit about why that's so important.
Yeah, I absolutely have had in my years of doing this my clients who were in the beauty industry, who definitely told me, this is just how it is done. This is how we all do it. This is how I said, okay, listen, here's the only thing that I would suggest you consider. So I don't force anyone to do anything. I say, just consider this. Do a test. I love the word test. Do a test and do 1 week. Manage your schedule like a boss, right? Be a boss. Have a breakfast, have a lunch, and testing it out, are you not able to get through your day better? Are you not even more pleasant with your clients? Are you not this magnetic, joyful person that all of a sudden everybody wants to refer people to? Oh my gosh, now you're like booked like crazy. You have to raise your prices because everybody's clamoring to get into you and your good vibes. It is something that pays off. Like the thing
Mm-hmm.
is it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this and I'm so healthy. Look at me. It's like, okay, yes, but the payoff is huge. The amount, if you care for yourself and you show up in bigger, more joyful, more bright, more bold ways, it's impossible to ignore you. Everybody wants to be around you. It's magnetic, and your business will thrive because guess what? You are caring for yourself first. So
Yeah.
the idea here is to test out this principle. I think it's easy to listen to me and you say, oh, well, girl, you've never had a chair. Well, how would you know? This is just not how we do it. And I say, listen, I never want to tell anyone what to do. I do encourage a test, and the test becomes magic and you become a believer. And so
Yes.
it's really it's a powerful, powerful thing to manage your own energy. Like I don't think about food as being like anything other than this is giving me energy, right? So it's like, is this a bright and pretty, colorful meal? Oh, that seems like I'll be bright and pretty and colorful in the world. Like, it really does match. And if you want to put garbage in, watch your energy levels. Watch how hard it is not to have garbage energy in the world when you're putting garbage in.
Yeah, I mean, I know you know this already, but when we went to Europe recently, I saw that on their labels, it says amount of energy. It's not calories, it's like how much energy. And I was like, that even just saying like energy versus calories, because calories has become like a kind of a bad word, I think, or something that we can obsess over and stuff. So I loved that. And so hearing you say that really just reminded me that like we just have to shift our mindset a lot about how we're thinking about food too, especially as we're like, yeah, we've got a big day ahead of us. We have to fuel for that. And again, I'm saying all of this being like, I'm learning, I'm figuring it out still too. And at 36, I'm like angry that I haven't known all of this already. But I think it's just, that's why I wanted to talk to you so much too, because I think just the information knowledge you have can really help some young stylists before they grow into their career. And I do want to point out, and I think like following you on social media, like everyone, I'm so excited to plug your stuff because you do really quick, easy. This doesn't have to be, we're going to sit down for an hour and eat this like long, like we're not scheduling in an hour lunch break. So if that's the argument of like, I just don't have time, you have so many tips and tricks of really healthy fuel that you can just quick, like either meal prep it or just things you can throw together quickly. And I know it's not just like the time lapse of the reel of going fast. Like I know that you always try to point out like really easy, simple things.
Yeah, I mean, I have a full life. I don't want to be in the kitchen all day. You know,
Mhm.
it's like I don't actually, it's not something that it's like, oh yes, this is what I want to do all day is be in this kitchen. No, I want to get food that is delicious, that looks super energizing, that feels energizing, eat it, and then be able to show up awesome. I want to be
Mhm.
able to show up in this world awesome. And to not think about, I think you made a great point, is like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the point of making a time for stupid breakfast? Why is the point of making time for stupid lunch? Like, God, what is this? I can just drink this and be energized, whatever. Well, the point is that you, again, doing the test, is that you really can easily have more time in your day that feels energized and not just like you're broke at the end of the day. You know, that
Yes.
it's not like, oh my God, I just need to slump in my chair after all of these clients. Guess what? You took care of yourself at breakfast. You took care of yourself at lunch. You know, maybe even had a snack. You're well hydrated. And you're like, oh my God, my shift is over. My day is over. And I have energy to do more fun stuff. And so,
Yes.
more energy in your day to be the best mom or mother or friend or party girl or whatever it is you want to spend your time doing, you will have more energy to do everything in your life, and good energy, not just like sluggish negative energy, like good energy.
Yeah. So we don't have to get into the specifics of like a nutrition breakdown, but again, like I'm like following you has been so eye-opening of just like different recipes, different things to try. Like it all still it's also really good. Also, it's not like a whatever, it's not gross food or people, you're not sacrificing like flavor and stuff. You come up with really creative things. So definitely a good follow there. And I hope that people will test it out. I think that's a great way to look at it. Like it's fine. Like I might be wrong, give it a test. Like you see, like tell me how it works. I love that mentality on it.
Yeah, and it really it doesn't have to be, not only it doesn't have to be time consuming, it also doesn't have to be change everything all at once. You can say, okay, guess what? I haven't cared a lick about nutrition for my whole life. I don't even
Hmm.
care. I'm going to start somewhere small and say, oh, I don't barely drink water. Maybe I'll just start with, what is it like to feel hydrated for 7 days in a row? Like, all right, I'm really going to just focus on this one thing and see how you feel. And you're like, oh
Hmm.
man, you know what? I feel pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try something else too. It's like, okay, well, I've never really had breakfast. Okay, well, let me find one breakfast, you know, scouring TikTok or Instagram or whatever. It's like, okay, you know what? I think I could have a piece of toast with avocado and an egg and carry an apple out, you know, to the car. I think I could do that. Let me test that out. And it's like, what would happen for 7 days if I ate a good breakfast as opposed to skipping or just drinking, you know, an energy drink or whatever? It's like, oh my God, I think this is great. I feel amazing. And then you're like, all right, well, shoot, maybe I should try lunch. Maybe I really should block off a 20-minute slot and go to the back and actually sit down and eat a lunch. It's like, okay, what could I possibly make for lunch? It's like, look around, find one thing, test it out. And you're like, oh my God, oh my God. And all of a sudden you look up and you're a new person. You know,
Hmm.
exercise is the same way. It's like, oh God, you know, exercise, I'll start on Monday. And it's like, no, it's just like, can you go for a 5-minute walk, on that
Hmm.
20-minute lunch break, can you get some circulation going in your poor legs that have been standing and your arms that have been raised? Can you just shake off some of it, get some fresh air, 5 minutes? What would happen if you did that
Yeah.
for 7 days in a row? And it's like this experiment, this 7-day challenges, I call them. These 7-day challenges really are so cool because it builds this crazy momentum. Small
Yeah.
changes to a big difference.
And how amazing could your life be? I just keep thinking like of the people that might be listening that are either in high school, fresh out of high school. Like if you learned this, like how much greater my brain could have been had I known this at a younger age. Like what could I've
Well,
actually done?
you know what I think is really the coolest part of the whole self-care, eating well, exercising, sleeping, water, all that stuff, is it's never too late.
Yeah.
And little things really will impact you in huge ways. And I gotta say, it's it's exciting to see when people get bit by this like bug of testing things, because then all of a sudden they really become new people, and not because they're forcing themselves to, because they actually want to. That's the key to this actually working long term, is you can't should yourself into doing it. Oh, I should really do this. I really should do that. It's like, no, only do things you want to do, have some fun with it, play with it for 7 days. And if you like the results, you keep with it. And not because you're forcing yourself, but because you naturally want to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of the times, like when you're standing behind the chair having the same conversation every day, like this is also a new thing to talk about. Like, I think that it's like one of those things that people love talking about what they're doing, like what, new thing they're trying or whatever. This is also a new topic to talk about. Like, yeah, I am trying to just do, different lunches, or I am trying to make time for this, or like, oh, sorry, I just slammed this lunch, but listen to what I learned. Like, I think that they're like, I've been seeing this guest for 10 years and we have the same conversation, or I've had the same conversation with this person that I had in my 1030. So I think that that's a positive of it too.
I love that, because I think that is when, I say that I'm very, like my tagline a lot is joy is a nutrient. Like, if you really want to be healthy, joy is part of this puzzle. And having more play with your clients, having different conversations, making it more fun to be at work, doing your thing, creating the magic for this person. Wow, that's a great concept, right? Is like having
Yeah.
more fun with the conversations with your guests.
Yeah,
Huh, I love
absolutely.
that.
I know. Okay, so I want to talk about finding joy. And so I want to talk about, for an example of, beauty school is a huge mountain that everyone in the beauty professional world has to climb. Now, there's different, obviously, locations, there's different curriculums, there are different schools. You can do it in high school, you can do it, some in high school and some at a beauty school. And so there's tons of different places that people might be right now. And it is a hard mountain to climb. Like it's not easy. A lot of people think like, okay, beauty school is going to be the hard part because of a lot of different factors. From things of like, you're around a bunch of different people and maybe you haven't been exposed to so many different types of people before. And this is a new thing for you that you're struggling with. Or maybe I hate getting up early, or I'm really sick of feeling like I have a full-time job in beauty school, but now I have to go to my actual job where I'm making money to have any kind of food at this time. So I think being honest about how hard it is. I mean, I love this industry. I work in a beauty school, so that is where I spend my time, and it is like my favorite place on earth. It is Disney World to me. Like, I love it, but I know that that's not everyone's experience, And so if you are in that hard place, what are some things that you can do just to find joy in the space that you're in?
Yeah, I have this thing, okay, that I mean, I didn't like my schooling actually at all. Like I didn't like my schooling. But I started practicing this and I never really realized I did it until looking back. Is I would think, how can I make this one thing just a little bit more fun or easy? Like I asked myself that a lot. Fun or easy, fun or easy. Is there any like 5%? If I could make, is there any way I could make this 5% more fun? Is there any way I can make this 5% easier? Like fun and ease are actually very good roads to joy. And so like you think about like, okay, I'm doing this stupid assignment I don't want to be doing. Like, God, this school is never ending. This teacher is the horrible. Like, I hate my classmates or whatever. All the negative, 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 negative. You're like, wait a second, stop. Is there any way I can make this more fun? It's like, well, I could put on music. I'm not even listening to music right now. I'm just like in, dredge zone or whatever. So you're like, okay, I'm going to put on music. Does this feel a little bit more fun? Yeah, it feels a little more fun. Maybe I could move to a different location and do this work. It's like, okay, I'm moving over here. Or like even to your point, it's like, oh, I'm doing this thing. I'm not having fun. It's like, oh, can you have a different conversation with this person that maybe would be more fun because you cannot talk one more time about whatever, her eyelash extensions or whatever it is. So I think that it's a very simple question that you ask yourself is like, is there any way I can make this just 5% more fun or 5% easier? And easier is not like a bad thing. Like a lot of times people are like, oh my God, that sounds lazy to try and make things easier. It's like, no, actually, that's where some of the best inventions have come from. Is like, I'm trying to do work in the dark. And it's like, oh, maybe I can invent a light bulb to make this easier. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, you can actually come up with very creative things, not lazy when you think about doing things, easier or more fun. And the other thing too, is that people pick up on it. So like if you're doing something with sort of hate in your heart, people can feel that work. Somehow the energy gets translated into whatever you're doing. And so it's like, it's an important thing to have just a little bit more fun in your work, not only for your own joy, but because you will get better results. Like literally you will get better results.
I love that idea. I tell the students all the time, I'm like, you're about to go have jobs, right? Like you're about to go have to sell a certain amount of retail. You're going to have to book a certain amount of clients. You're going to be assisting. You're going to be going like make this the most fun time. And I feel like, and maybe again, I say this a lot. Like I feel like I'm just gaining a lot more wisdom with age. And so I feel like I'm like, you're not going to get this time back where you're seeing your beauty school bestie every single day and you guys get to hang out with each other and you get to do these clients and you get to laugh and you get to giggle. And I just wish that I could be like, stop. Like, I love their drive. I love because it goes like one or two. It's the people that are like, I've got to be perfect and I've got to get, blah, blah, blah. Like they're so focused on the goal of like achievement that they forget to just like be there and be silly and make up dances or go outside. Like we try to like do silly things just to make it like fun for them anyways, but like taking that on themselves. Like I love when they'll come to me and they'll be like, look at this weird thing I just did. Like whatever it is. Like they'll be like, oh, look at this weird hair that we just did, or we just had this idea to do this and look at this. And I'm like, I love that. Like that's what this is all about. And I want people to carry that into the industry and stuff. I think I'm just in beauty school all the time. So that's what I'm like, oh, I just want them to have fun. But I think that's such a simple thing. Like, how could I make this just a little bit more fun, But I want to say something because in saying this of like being that person, that's like, oh, this will be great. This will be cool if we do this. And we are those people, right? Like you're always thinking of like, let's be silly, goofy. Like you're not afraid of being that person. People hate that. Like I find like I'm like, how can people not like me for being so happy? And like the whole thing that you said about it being genuine and not fake. How do you shut off that self-talk of being in a room of people? And some of these girls, you have to remember, some of these students, not just girls, boys as well, but like are 18 years old. This is their first place out of high school. What advice can you give to somebody to kind of say, like, I know I might be the weird one, and I know that other people are going to be like, that's so dumb that she's doing that. What advice do you have for somebody that's afraid to put themselves out there in that way?
Okay, the thing is that everybody's fun looks different. That's the thing that was unlocked for me. Is like our fun actually looks kind of similar.
Yeah.
But we present in a way that is not necessarily how every other person presents as fun. Like I had an intern once who, I mean, she's just very, very nerdy and quiet. And that was her fun. Her fun was like nerding out in sort of a quiet way and doing her things. And, she said to me, I just will never get a career because I just don't have your personality. And I said, oh my God, no, 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 no. My personality isn't why I have a career. It's because I'm being authentically me. And
Mm-hmm.
you're authentically you is
Mm-hmm.
this like sort of nerdy, quiet scientist in a cool way.
Mm-hmm.
And so she leaned into her personality and she is doing great things. She is doing amazing things that I could never do
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have that personality. So I think the key is like just being cool with it's like all people's fun. What fun looks like to them is going to look a little different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And and I think the idea too is like, this is gonna sound corny. It's corny, but here's a coach once gave me this. She's like, if somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh my gosh, your hair is blue," and my hair is not blue, and I don't really care that she said that, so I don't think anything of it. I don't think anything of it. But if she came up to me and says, "Oh my gosh, you're so fake and too happy," if secretly I think I am fake and too happy, that's going to hurt my feelings. And so
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing is like if somebody says something that hurts your feelings, they just held up a mirror. It's something that you believe about yourself. It has nothing to do with what they think. And
Wait,
so,
that is
yes,
like, that is so big and amazing. Like, I
yes.
love that piece for sure.
Yeah. Oh God, it changed everything for me when I was like, this really hurts my feelings when people, I mean, because I've gotten in my whole life in career, in jobs and stuff, I've gotten cut out of TV shows because my face looked too happy. I've gotten pulled aside from TV segments that I've done is like, listen, you're at like a 12 and everybody is at a 6. Can you like tone it down? I've had people go, oh my God, I've done public speaking in smaller rooms and people are like, oh my God, like I'm exhausted just listening to your energy. And
Yes.
people saying stuff like that to me. And I had a girl colleague actually come up to me and say, guess what? Your energy isn't the problem. The room was too small. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. It's like, you be you, whatever your energy is, whatever that looks like. And nobody can ever hurt your feelings if you know that that's just who you are authentically. And if people don't appreciate that authentic, you're probably in the wrong room. You're probably in too small of a room.
I love that. And I'm so excited for the listeners to hear that, because I think that that's just something that we constantly have to remind ourselves. I think a lot of times I've gone through this for sure. And before you figure out like who you really are and realizing that there's people who do love and value that, is that you want to just like, you want to hide and you want to be like, from simple things of like, I'm afraid to ask this question in the classroom. Like, I feel like I'm going to be embarrassed, or like, I'm supposed to know that I'm not smart enough. But that is exactly what it is. We are scared we're not smart enough. So we don't want to, like, it has to start with you. And I love that. I feel like that's going to help so many people just hearing that.
Yeah. What part you liked hearing about, like when something hurts your feelings, it's really a thought. It's
Yeah,
really not them saying, it's really a
right.
thought you secretly have about yourself,
Which
and
that
that you
you
can
can
correct it.
control. Yes.
Yeah. You
I
can
think
correct
that's
it.
the thing is like, it isn't that we need to correct it by being what they want us to be. We have to stop that negative self-talk before that can even be like, oh, okay. Like, all right, cool. Like, great feedback. Thank you for letting me know that I exhausted you, but whatever, like I've heard that
Yeah.
before. I actually hear that a lot when I'm speaking, or doing things with just, or actually, I mean, when I hear it that I haven't like pinpointed, but when I'm giving tours, like at the beauty school, and they'll be like, are you like this all the time? And
Yes, exactly.
I'm like, cool, thank you for that, and you're like, gosh, like I can't, because I could never even imagine saying that. I mean, it is like when we met, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love your energy. And you're like, I love your energy. And like, we're just excited to be around each other and to be like, it's valued and appreciated. So yeah, I really, really like that it just, and that's what we can control. We cannot control how somebody's going to see it. We cannot control how somebody's going to take us, or what they're going to say about us, or what they're going to think, even if they do think it's fake. But what we can't control is that we believe that or not.
Yep. Yeah, it is. I think the biggest thing is nobody can hurt your feelings if you aren't believing what they say.
Yeah.
And so if your feelings are hurt, just go within.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel like you have to lash out. Don't feel like you have to be sad. Don't feel like you have to change. Go in and think about, oh, I must be thinking this about myself, and I can fix it. Exactly. I think it is an empowering message.
I think so
And I
too.
will say my big thing is always that it goes in this order: thoughts create feelings, create action. And so if you don't like the way you're feeling, it starts with a thought. If you don't like the way you're acting, it starts with a thought. Our thoughts are everything. So having that belief that, hey, listen, I'm not really liking how I'm feeling. Well, how can I change what I'm thinking right now? It's like, oh, I don't really like how I'm behaving in this, whatever. It's like, oh, how can I change my thoughts about this? So yeah, it's an empowering way to be that you're the boss of your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think the more it becomes easier with age for sure. I think that it is a part of growing up. I mean, the earlier that you can take this all on and learn this and really start to make those changes, the better. But I do think that when you do have to kind of figure that out, it is like, it comes in the stages of being like, obviously I've been around more people like me in the last few years because more opportunities. So I've become more comfortable in it. So it's a little bit easier. My sister-in-law, like she, is in this industry. So she actually does hair, and, super close with my brother. So we're like a very close family. And she jokes all the time about me and my brother. She's like, everyone loves you guys. Like, no, you know what I mean? And she's just like, it jokingly annoys her. She's like, oh yeah, like like if I tell anybody, everybody loves you, everybody loves my brother, everybody, and like she jokes about it. Well, she came to me the other day and she was like, Bobbi, guess what? And I was like, what? And she was like, I finally met somebody that didn't like you. And I was like, what? I was like, first of all, why are you so happy about this?
Rude.
Like, why are you
Right.
so happy to tell me this? Number one. Number two, I was like, who, what? And she started telling me. And like what they had said is exactly what you're saying is they're like, isn't she like fake? And it did not bother me at all. I was like, that's hilarious. I was like, I love that. And it's probably something that would have destroyed me in my early 20s. Like, I would have been so upset about it. And oh my gosh, I need to reach out to that person because, and I would literally try to fix it. And now I was like, that's great. Like, I was like, I love that. That's not my person. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Like, I know that I'm not fake. I know what I do on a daily basis to show love and to show up. And if that's what you take from it and that's what you think of me, like, okay, but like, that's not an easy place to get to. And it took me literally 36 years to get there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great story to talk about, that it's happened to you and you found your way out, like I found my way out of that too. But I will say, even when people might not appreciate who you are and how you show up in the world, it does give people permission to show up as themselves,
Mm-hmm.
like, so even if they're like, oh, I don't want to be like that. It's like, great, but look, you have now permission. So you're granting permission for people to be themselves, which we started at the very beginning saying that is the magic. The things you like, the things you want to talk about, the things you gravitate toward, all these joy breadcrumbs that you say, oh, that I'm going to try that. I'm going to test that. I want to go do that. Maybe I'll try that with my next client. Like, oh, blah, blah, blah. All that makes you you. And that is where the magic is. That's how you become magnetic.
I want to tell you something that, because I want you to know the difference that you make on a time that you probably like. I mean, I know you're going to remember this situation because we were there together, but something that has stuck with me. And when I was thinking about interviewing you, I was just thinking about, I mean, just every interaction has been like, we're like, bah, like we're so excited, and I
Yeah.
love that. And there's so much. I mean, I was cracking up when you told me that like you jump rope, and I was like, Mark, of course, like she's amazing. Like she has so much energy and it's just you. And I'm like, of course you jump rope and you own it. And I love that about you. Like it's so great. But we were at a conference together in November and you were coming up to speak early in the morning where the room wasn't the most like energetic yet. Okay. So I'm watching you and you're about to go up and speak and you're like, not, I imagine I'm like, okay, so she's prepping herself, like she's getting ready and she's about to go do her thing. And you literally danced up down an aisle in a room, huge smile on your face, dance through. And I was like, look at her go. It does motivate. I mean, I remember in that moment being like, why couldn't I do that? Like I would have never thought before I can dance through this room. I can be the only one dancing. I can be nobody else was up dancing with you. You did that. And I thought you were the strongest human being on earth. And I still think I was like, she is amazing to be able to do that. There are very few people that could. And it is something that stuck with me. Like I said, I think that's just you. But that has left like such an impact on me. And I'm sure other people in the room who were educators, which hopefully then took that back. So I will never forget that. And I really think you're like Superwoman for being able to bring that energy. So I know everything you're saying is so true. Like you live it.
Hey, listen, thanks for telling that story. Because I think to myself, that question I said, how can I make this a little more fun? And public speaking, I enjoy, but I was like, there's always a way you could do like a little more. So then I started playing with my outfits, a little bit brighter, a little bit crazier. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like if there was more dancing and music here, this like would be better. And so it's like I tested, doing music and dancing into it. And then, it was all of these things to try and make it more fun for me first. But second, I felt like if I'm having fun, I know my audience will have more fun. If I'm doing high kicks, if I'm doing whatever, is like, I feel like that will translate into my energy being good. I want to try and give it forward. And that's actually how I am not nervous when I do things, is I really don't think about myself, is I really think like, hey, I'm about service. So this presentation I'm about to do, I want to serve these people in their the best way I can. And so it's like, okay, I know that people learn better when, they're having fun and they feel like, natural. It's like, okay, you know what? I can do this dancing because it's not really about me dancing. It's about me setting the tone for everybody having a good time and learning together, And so like a lot of my bravery and courage comes from the fact that I get out of my own head and I think about it's all about serving.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think if one in person, I mean, I know I noticed it and I was like, oh, I love that. And it motivated me. But if one of those educators went back to their school, okay, then that empowers a student. Then that like, they really is such a trickle down system. And so I even think, if you're in a room of 5 people, pretend it's 500, like really understand the impact that you have. And I try to do good about sharing those things because I think that that's going to hopefully be like, next time when you do that, you're going to be like, yeah, this does matter,
Yeah. Oh, I actually 100%. You pointing that out makes it matter to me a million times more because you don't really know, is anyone really watching, paying attention? You don't know. So like,
Yeah.
yes, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I think it's great. And I think just your attitude and positivity is so special. And I just love that the whole time we're talking, like your bejeweled microphone, like you are such a vibe. Like I just want to be like, I love it. It's so great. And I'm excited for the, just the color in this episode. Cause I know there's a lot of times that like, these aren't fun conversations all the time of like
Yes.
energy and like finding joy and all of that stuff. But you really bring like a special magic to everything. So thank you so much for giving up time to be here with us today. And I can't encourage everyone to follow you enough. So where can we find you if people are wanting to read your book? Like, where do you suggest we start with DJ Blatner?
Thank you very much for having me and all the kind words and energy and enthusiasm. This has been so great. So my hub really is my website is DJ Blatner. And from there, you can get my Instagram and you can sign up for a newsletter that I call the Nutrition Wow. And you get, there's recipes on there, everything, free stuff. So djblatner.com is like the first place to go. And then you can find your favorite outlet from there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I haven't stopped smiling for 50 minutes. I'm so thankful for this time and just keep doing what you're doing. As much time as I can get with you, I want to take it. So I'm so thankful.
Back at you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks so much for having me.
All
Love you,
right.
babe.
Bye.
Bye.